Hi everyone, today we're going to learn how to use these small bead looms. If you stumbled across this video online, I recommend going to my full version. You can click the I on the top of the screen. For the staff meeting, I'm going to concentrate only on showing you how to make this type with the leather ends. I have made a full video which is longer, which will explain how to do this type of ends, and it'll also explain 2 additional ways for how to end your work on the loom. Nice thing about this kind of end is you can have these long straps, so even if you only get a little teeny bit done, you can extend your bracelet by having these long straps underneath so that you can tie them. Let's get started with our graph paper. So the first thing you can do is get a piece of graph paper and kind of design how you might like to make your beads. If you have some colored markers, you can mark in the colors directly onto the graph. If you don't have colored markers, then what you can do is just write the first letter of the color you're going to do. So you might go R, 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 R for red. These ones are again going to be size 8 because then it'll be quicker for me to make one and also easier for you guys to see on the camera. So in your box or your kit, you should have this wire frame and then these 2 pieces here and some thread. Take this, fit it on here, so you got your little wood ends on. Now you're going to take your thread and you're going to tie a knot on this little peg here. I'm actually going to use black because the edging of my bracelet is going to be black beads, so then this thread will blend in better. I'm going to tie this probably a few times. On my graph that I made, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 colors of beads. So you always need one more string than beads. So this will be 8 strings because I'm only using 7 beads. Okay, now all you do is you take this piece of thread, go straight down the center, straight down to the other side, and wrap it around the peg. Then you come up this side exactly beside the string you just did, and then down to this other side, and then wrap it around the peg. Now you're on the other side, so you put the string right beside where you put the other one, right beside that one, and wrap it around the peg. You don't actually tie it or anything, you just do one wrap. Then you go into the next slot, into the next slot, around the peg, then you go to the next side, and again around the peg. Now you do this until you get the number of strings that you need. Back. Okay, and then you can just wrap it a few times around here. Okay, so next you want to try and make this a little bit more of a tension, and that's what this little wheel is for. So you can turn your wheel to make this tighter and then do up the little knob tighter, and then you can do the same thing on the other side. We'll be covering up 1 or 2 rows depending on what method we do. So you might want to just do a couple rows of whatever color to begin with. So 1 or 2 rows of the beads are going to get inside this piece of leather, so they won't even show up. Please note that the thread that comes with this, I noticed it tangles quite easily, so I also recommend waxing your thread. So you're just going to tie a knot onto the very outer string. So leave yourself a good length tail. So you string your beads on, and what you do is you bring your needle underneath the row of strings to bring it to the other side. Okay, if you want, you can turn this so that it's easier for you. Then what you're going to do is from your hand underneath and push all the beads up. In between each string there should be one bead. Then you're going to take your needle, and right now this string here is underneath these strings under here. So now we're going to take our needle and bring it through these beads, but just make sure that you're bringing it through on top of these strings. And there you have it. All right, get your next set of beads. Bring them down. Again, you're going to go under with the needle to the other side. And you're going to do the same thing. Push every bead up in between the lines, the strings, and then thread your needle through. Thread your needle through the top. And that's all there is to it. You're going to repeat this. Keep repeating this. Get your next row of beads, go under, and then back through the top. And you just keep doing that for however long you want. Okay, you're just going to cut your work off the loom. Okay, so you're just going to start tying the outer two, and then the next two, and then the next two. I've tied them all now, and then I'm going to take a group of 2 that have been tied with the next group of 2 that have been tied, and then I will tie those groups of 2 together, like, so you'll kind of be doing 4 strings now. Okay, so now we're going to cut a little square of leather or suede to make a little end like this that will open in the middle, and you will be able to glue, cut your strings shorter here, and then the little string tails and the first couple rows of beads will go in there. I would trim your size to what you need before you glue it on. So this one's going to be a little bit too big, so I'm going to trim it to be a little bit smaller. And then I will now show you how I made this one. As you cut a square, and then you have to make 2 slits. What I'm going to do is figure out approximately where my center is. Right about there. And then I'm going to make a slit on one side of where center is, and then another slit just below that. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this, but there is 2 slits in here now. Okay, next you need to get yourself some lace of some sort and get a big enough piece so that when you put it on, you'll be able to tie it underneath. So you're going to take about 12 inches maybe, and you're going to fold it in half like this. So you push this through, or if it's too thick, you can actually thread one through and then thread the other through. Just depends on what works for you. But I'm going to try doing it this way and just taking a pair of pliers and trying to pull it through here. Okay, so far you're like this through the one little cut there. Now you're going to keep going and bring it through the other side. So you end up like this with a loop coming through one side and your 2 tails coming through the other. So it's like this. Next, you're going to bring the 2 tails through the hole like that and slowly pull this down until it's tight. And because I'm doing suede with suede right now, it's not super easy to pull. It just depends on what you're using. Okay, so there you have it. Okay, so I'm just going to put a teeny bit of glue on the knots here before I cut them. Before I cut the strings. All right, now I'm going to put some glue inside this. And see how I'm going to be hiding the first few rows of beads. Now I would recommend maybe gluing this at home because it does need to stay in position for at least a day to dry. So once you've got the glue on, you can tape it down to something. In a day you can remove it. So I would make your little leather ends before you go today, or cut your pieces and your supplies to make it at home, and then glue this when you get home, and you can leave it somewhere